Hey you, and welcome to Happy Sex Ed! Today we are going to talk about a topic that I think is very important but often very overlooked, which is the way we speak about sex. If you think about it, the way we speak about sex, so the words we use to describe sex, really influences the way we think about sex and just the way we see it in general. At the same time, it is also a direct reflection how sex is being viewed in society. Of course, the way society views it shapes the way we talk about it. So it's kind of a full circle moment, and it's something that can go on for generations. This little graph shows the cyclical nature of cultural messages. The way we grow up hearing about sex shapes how we think about it. How we think about it shapes how we speak about it. And how we speak about it, again, shapes our thinking. And of course, what we think is our beliefs. And our beliefs is what we give to our children. So I think it is a very useful thing to analyze a little bit how we speak about sex. Which words do we use and what do they mean? And how does that influence the way we think about it? So today, let's look at some common expressions we use when talking about sex and what they mean. I have split this into different categories, and we're going to start with category 1, violence. When we speak about sex, we often use language that has a quite violent connotation. That may include saying smash, hit, wrecked, or even destroyed. This frames sex not as a mutual experience that is shared together, but as something that one person does to another person. And also, it is quite gendered. We usually hear men talking like that about women. So, the violence against women that is still part of this society is pretty clear through the way we use language. If we describe sex like a violent act, it comes as no surprise that a lot of fear can be part of a woman's sexual experience. In the same way, it also harms men. For example, have you ever heard about the Madonna whore complex? If not, Freud came up with that, but actually, for once, he did some useful research there, because he actually noticed that some men are not able to keep an erection in a committed and loving relationship. Now, this is because he discovered that men put women into categories. A woman is either a whore or a Madonna, so this like pure virgin archetype. And of course, you cannot have sex with this pure virgin archetype. Now, if we talk about sex in this violent way, it makes sense that that is not something you want to do to a person that you love. It is still a question why you would want to do that to another person. That is something for another video. But I think it's getting quite clear why this kind of violent language is very problematic. Now I'm going to offer you some alternatives, because of course I'm not going to leave you hanging just saying there is a problem but not saying how to fix it. So some alternatives may include have sex, plain and simple, be with someone, be intimate, or share a sexual experience. Especially the share a sexual experience I personally really like because it's pretty neutral, but it is collaborative. So it seems like both people are equally involved, which obviously is the case. Just as a little example, imagine someone who says, "Oh yeah, I smashed that." And now imagine the same person saying, "We shared a sexual experience." Now we know nothing about the nature of what these two people had, but immediately we have a completely different picture of what happened. Now we're going to move into category 2, which is achievement-based. So we sometimes talk about sex as scoring. We talk about first base, third base, or home run. We talk about notches at the bedpost, and also we talk about body count. No, all of this frames sex as, well, a game, as achievement-based. And again, it is very gendered. It is a language that is mostly used by male-presenting people, because male-presenting people are actually valued based on their sexual experiences. We don't really hear women or female-presenting people talk like that because having had sex is not really seen as an achievement or anything positive. And I think, again, it is pretty clear why this harms everyone. Male-presenting people, for them, it's, their worth is tied to the number of sexual partners that they have had, which creates pressure and takes the focus completely away from intimacy, connection, joy, and pleasure. For female presenting people, this also sucks because they are viewed as trophies, achievements, or something to conquer, which honestly is just very dehumanizing and takes their pleasure and their joy completely out of the equation. Let's talk about the alternatives. Another alternative for this one is, of course, again, we had sex. We shared an experience, if you don't want to go into detail, or instead of body count, you may say something like past sexual experience or sexual history. That is neutral and non-judgmental. The next category, category 3, is going to be purity and cleanliness. We talk about sex often as if it's something dirty. For example, we say someone lost their virginity, as if something valuable and like a big treasure has been lost by having sex. Also, for example, we say I'm clean when we want to express we don't have an STI. However, that automatically frames someone who does have an STI as dirty, which obviously increases shame and stigma around the topic. Some nice alternatives could be to say someone had their first sexual experience, or someone had their sexual debut. That's often used in sex education, but can sound a little bit dry. So I personally really like to gain a sexual experience or to have your first sexual experience. When it comes to STDs, you may just say, I tested negatively for STDs, or I tested positively, instead of talking in categories like dirty or clean. These alternatives stop framing sex as something negative, dirty, or contaminating, which unfortunately is still seen in our society. Oh, a little insect landed on me. But again, it's very gendered. It's usually used for female presenting individuals. Men don't tend to be called dirty for being sexual. The last category is the most harmless one. There we have euphemisms or a little bit of avoidance talk. It's not necessarily harmful, but it does still frame sex a little bit as a taboo. So we talk about things like Netflix and chill. We say we slept together, which technically would mean we just had a nap, but everyone knows that's not what we're meaning. We say things like we did it or we hooked up. None of this is very clear, but it is to kind of go around saying we had sex. There is nothing technically wrong with saying any of this if you just really don't want to share too much to someone you don't know. There's nothing wrong with that. However, if you do want to be a little bit more clear, you may again say we had sex, obvious, or you may say something like we shared intimacy or we had a sexual experience. I like the last one, we had a sexual experience, because oftentimes when we say we had sex, people automatically assume intercourse. So penis and vagina sex, and I always appreciate terms that come away from that a little bit, because sex should be so much more than just that. So when we take a step back and we think about the way we speak about sex, it becomes clear that the words we use are really powerful. They guide the way we think, speak, and feel about sex. and it guides our expectations. It guides how we think about other people and ourselves. So moving away from words that suggest harm is a really important first step to a more sex-positive society. Alright, already we have come to the end of this video. I am so happy you're here. I really appreciate so much that you're here and you want to learn about this, because together we can make a change. If we all contribute to changing our language and the way we speak, other people may also be inspired to do so. And this way we can really make a difference. So thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I really hope that you liked this video. If you did, consider giving it a like, me a subscribe, or to even share it to other people that you think may find it interesting. I really hope to see you next time, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye!